We begin at an oil refinery in Alaska, where workers spend 3 months. We meet John Otway, a veteran sniper who accepted a job there, a place that is occupied by men who are mostly deemed worthless by society. The days there are exhausting and sometimes frustrating for John, but his job is to protect the perimeter and the workers from the dangers surrounding the area. Inside the bar, on his last night there, John remembers the good times he had with his former partner, who unfortunately left him. Back at his tent, he writes a farewell letter to her, regretting the man he was in the past, and that the separation happened because of him. Unfortunately for him, his way of life has reached its limit, and one night he decides to end it all. He positions his rifle against himself, but before he pulls the trigger, he reflects on the teachings of his late father, which makes him contemplate the importance of life and his significance to others. After weeks of work, the day to return home arrives, and the group of workers boards the plane along with John. Inside the aircraft, he disposes of the letter and soon meets Flannery, who is quite talkative. John asks for some peace and quiet, which causes the younger man to leave his seat. Minutes after the plane takes off, the aircraft encounters turbulence that leaves most of the passengers shocked and scared. Flannery, seeing the distress of his companions, jokes about the positions they should take if the plane crashes, and Burke does not like his comments. Hours later, while John is sleeping, the aircraft suddenly experiences a malfunction and shakes violently more than usual. The passengers complain about the intense cold inside the airplane, and when John checks the window, he sees the wing of the aircraft contorting from the strong winds. He tightens his seatbelt, and at that moment, the plane begins to dive sharply. Panic spreads throughout the cabin as the aircraft starts to disintegrate, causing fatalities in midair, even before crashing to the ground. When John regains consciousness, he realizes he is covered in snow, in a cold, inhospitable, high location. John looks around but finds nothing. He walks a little and soon in front of him sees the wreckage of what is left of the plane. John finds some survivors, including Hernandez, who is in shock from what has happened to them, and also Flannery, who is delirious. He helps him find more of the others, and they head inside the wreckage of the aircraft to shield themselves from the intense cold. One of the friends named Luke is in critical condition with severe injuries, and unfortunately, John cannot help him with any medical kit. Luke cannot believe it, and even while John tells him he is going to die, Luke tries to remain calm. Unfortunately, it doesn't take long for the man to succumb to his suffering, being observed by his companions who mourn the loss. Among those still alive are Hendrik and Talglet, who deeply lament the loss, and Diaz, who complains that the company doesn't care about them and would likely leave them there. John asserts that they need to behave correctly to survive, and they need to act as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they would die there in less than a week. The group gathers supplies and materials for a fire, and they cannot do anything with the frozen dead bodies. Later, already at night, John walks around and finds one of the flight attendants lying fallen, apparently alive, but when he approaches, he sees a wolf devouring her. He tries to scare the beast away, but is attacked. John fights against the creature but lacks the strength to combat it. However, fortunately, the others arrive after hearing the shouts and scare the animal away. Then John thanks the group for their help. Back at the aircraft, John receives help for his bite wounds. When questioned if there could be more beasts like the one that attacked him, he confirms it, but he says they should first worry about what they are going to eat. Part of the group is more concerned about the carnivorous animals and fears for their lives. John then explains the behavior of these animals, stating that they can hunt within a radius of approximately 40 kilometers, and if they have their dens within that radius, they will return and attack the group shortly. When asked about his knowledge of wolves, John states that he is paid to kill such animals, and claims that these beasts already know the group is weak and injured, possibly considering them easy prey. Knowing that the dead will attract the animals to them, the group decides to hide the dead. Diaz, checking the deceased companions, finds a technological watch that has a GPS signaling device embedded, which may be useful to them. Seeing Diaz looting the dead without respecting their deaths, John reprimands him and orders him to stop what he is doing. Otherwise, he will teach him a lesson in the form of a beating. Later, while they gather around the campfire, the group talks, but John remains alert to the danger that may be lurking nearby. Suddenly, a deep howl that resembles a growl echoes very close to them, and John warns everyone to be on guard, knowing that a careless move could lead to deaths. When they lift a torch forward, they see a group of large wolves staring at them. John asks everyone to stay quiet and to look back at the animals. Fortunately, after a minute of eye contact, these fierce creatures back away from the group, but leave the message that they are in their territory, and that is not good for the men. After the departure of the beasts, John takes the first watch, alert to the howls of the animals surrounding the area. After him is Burker, who is a bit sleepy, but fear prevents him from sleeping. Later, it's Hernandez's turn, who decides to urinate carelessly beside the aircraft. Suddenly, he is surprised by two large wolves that brutally attack him and kill him quickly. At dawn, John wakes up and discovers that the last watchman is not among them. Looking around, he finds the man mangled and frozen, with large paw prints near the body. The group is in shock at the sight, and John tries to calm the others, instructing them to go to a forested area in the distance, which may provide a better refuge for them since the beasts have urinated there and marked the area as the pack's territory. Diaz is distraught and goes against John's opinions. He wants to be the leader of himself, but John outlines the best solution for the others. Minutes later, the group gathers what they can to depart with John, and he collects the remaining fuel to light fires, as fire will be essential for their survival. Reflecting on the losses, John asks the others to take their identification cards so they can be sent back to their families. Diaz continues to be foolish, which stresses Talglet out. John finds his rifle, but it is broken in half and will be of no use. He takes the ammunition and finds the letter he wrote to Sarah. Hendrik, before leaving, asks for a moment of prayer for the victims. After bidding farewell to their lost companions from the tragedy, the group heads to the new location. The men face strong, freezing winds and continue without stopping, as losing their rhythm would certainly mean perishing along the way. Unfortunately, Flannery is the slowest and ends up being ambushed by a pack of wolves that emerge from the dense cold mist. The others hear him scream and return to help him, but by the time they arrive, it is too late, and the man has succumbed to his injuries. With nothing more they can do, John orders them to continue on to the forest. Further ahead, obscured by the mist and snow, they see something running their way, and fearing an attack from the beasts, they quicken their pace. The group reaches the area of trees and gathers twigs to light a fire as quickly as they can. They hear what seems to be foxes and other wolves, and what can be heard are moans of suffering since the Alpha, along with his pack, has eliminated the competition in the territory. Now it's John and his friends against the pack of large wolves. He gathers some stakes and plans to make some improvised weapons, using the shotgun ammunition he found. He instructs them to tape the ammunition to the end of the stakes, and when the enemy approaches, they should thrust it into the beast, causing the shot to fire. Only 5 of them remain, and they follow John's instructions, but Diaz continues to oppose the way they seek survival. John confronts him, claiming that he is afraid, which is why he is acting toxically, trying to appear tough, but is actually more afraid of death than the others. This irritates the man, who stands up to fight against the old veteran, but ultimately fails. John defeats him and knocks him into the snow. At that moment, a growl echoes in the darkness among the nearby trees. When they look around, they see the great beast before them. The men position themselves against the situation, forcing the wolf to retreat into the darkness. After the episode, Diaz becomes calmer and regrets his actions. However, suddenly he is surprised by the beast, which attacks him mercilessly. John grabs the improvised weapon and wounds the animal several times, stopping the attack and killing the wolf. Moments later, the group eats the meat as they are starving. While they eat, they hear howls in the forest, but this drives Diaz into a rage. When he throws the wolf's head for the others in the pack to see, the Alpha's growl echoes, causing the rest of the pack to howl even louder, showing the men that they are few compared to them. The group continues through the forest, and Burker feels very unwell, so he needs to stop and rest. They talk a little about their lives and try to smile a bit, to deceive themselves about the terror they are experiencing. Another night passes, and in the morning they wake up to a snowstorm in the area. John tries to wake Burker but soon discovers that his friend didn't survive the freezing night. After the snowstorm, John notices something on the trunk of a tree and discovers that it has been a deforestation site. They then set out in search of signs of civilization, but come across a cliff. The solution is to cross it, as behind them are the starving wolves, so they need to move forward. It is not very close, but the only way to advance is to jump to the trees ahead, and this will not be easy. The group ties ropes and cloths to use as a zip line. Hendrik goes first, but prays to God for help before he jumps to the other side of the trees, and fortunately, he reaches the top of a tree and ties the improvised rope. The group begins the crossing, and Talglit is last, as he is afraid of heights. When he begins to cross, he has difficulty holding onto the rope due to his injured hand. As he moves his foot forward, a clasp gets stuck in the rope, and at that moment of tension, the rope snaps and he falls. Talglit unfortunately plummets onto the branches of the tree and crashes to the ground, ending up severely injured. Before he succumbs, he remembers his daughter, but his death is inevitable due to the fall and the attack of a new pack of smaller wolves. His friends, witnessing the scene, attempt to descend as quickly as possible from the tree, but Talglit is dragged away before they can reach him. The trio becomes more fearful, knowing that the wolves are killing them one by one, slowly yet brutally. Again, the howls echo, proving to the humans that they are very close to death. Unable to stay still, the trio continues searching for an escape from the area, exhausted, hungry, cold, and fearful of another attack. They later reach a river and decide to follow the current downstream. Diaz struggles to continue as he has a hurt knee, and the injuries he sustained in the previous attack are further weakening him. He asks for a moment to rest, resigned to give up continuing, knowing he will not be able to. Diaz sits on a wooden trunk by the river, and no matter what his companions say to cheer him up, he simply surrenders his identity to be delivered to his family and stays there. Hendrik tries to encourage him, but Diaz states that he will not leave. After handing his watch to John, he says goodbye to his friends. The two then depart, leaving the surrendering companion behind. After hours walking along the riverbank, the two men talk a bit when suddenly the wolves appear again and pursue them. John runs alongside Hendrik, and the ferocious wolves almost catch up with them. Hendrik falls into the river and is swept away by the current, forcing his friend John to leap to help him. However, the current is strong and drags Hendrik away. Soon he crashes against a wooden trunk lodged in the middle of the river, causing one of his legs to become trapped. John arrives and tries to help his friend, but time passes, and his strength is insufficient to raise the trunk or pull his companion, who drowns. With this death, John is left alone, with no more companions and helpless. He sits by the river and screams to the heavens, asking God for a sign, for help. But nothing happens. After reflecting on his abandonment in that place, he decides to rise and continue his journey for survival. John walks for hours in that immense forested area, and even while weak, he finds no reason to give up on his life and on bringing part of his friends back to their families. However, after hours without finding any trace of civilization, he kneels and displays on a small mural the identities of his former companions and his written letter. It doesn't take long for John to realize he is right in the midst of the wolves' den. He is quickly surrounded by the beasts until the alpha positions himself right in front of him. At that moment, John has a memory of the time he spent with his partner Sarah, beautiful moments before they separated. His memory encourages him not to be afraid. He then prepares for battle, tying broken glass vials and his blade to his hands. As the wolf beast readies to attack him, John recites the phrase he remembers from his father. "Once more into battle, the last I shall pass, I will live and die on this day." The attack is inevitable, and this is the end for such bravery from this man.